Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today. And this one, as far as I can tell, is a 1937 King James Version produced by the World Syndicate Publishing Company. Now, this is definitely an older Bible, and it's got some pretty unique features, and it is in pretty decent shape. And I was super stoked to get it, definitely because it includes the box, but also, again, because it was in such good shape. You don't usually see Bibles that are in really good shape, especially when they're kind of approaching the 100-year mark. They tend to be kind of beaten up or forgot about, or not stored so greatly. So usually you don't find them in such nice condition as this. So I'm pretty excited to show it to you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll take a look here at the box. Now it's a two-piece box, obviously, that you can see, and this is the original box. It does have this sort of kind of black paper over top of the box that it's wrapped in. And it does have its little label there. You can see the information on it, and this is called the Young Folks Edition. And I'm not sure what would constitute a Young Folks Edition, other than maybe there's some pictures or something like that. Certainly, King James Version to me is not really a young folks edition. I'll just say that. It is pretty hard to read. I mean, I had one when I was a kid and it was pretty hard to read. But it is labeled Young Folks Edition. It does say morocco-grain leather, and the number, I guess the model number is the 642. And it is self-pronouncing, and it does have, now this is an interesting term, right? Divinity circuit. Now, winner, winner, chicken dinner to the person who knows what a divinity circuit is. A divinity circuit is essentially another name for a Yapp. So this is their way of indicating that, it has a Yapp on the Bible, which it does, and we'll take a look at it here in a minute. And then it does have gilt edges. And it's definitely a very unique gilt that it has on the edges. But again, nice to see those labels, nice to see the box so nicely preserved. Thank you. I'm assuming this is Natalie Weber's Bible. So thank you, Natalie Weber, wherever you are. And there's nothing really much to it. It's just kind of a white box. Now, you will see, this is interesting here, what they have. I hated seeing these. I hate seeing these in boxes in older Bibles, and they used to do this a lot. Sometimes they use little pieces of rounded cork. Sometimes it's like a little kind of a zigzag piece of cardboard. In this instance, it is actual blocks of wood that have been glued into the box there. So these small little blocks of wood. And this is, I don't know if it's to kind of prevent the Bible from sliding up and down and shifting, or if it's meant to train the Yapp, but essentially that's what it ends up doing. It ends up training the Yapp, and we'll take a look because it's not very effective in training the top covers Yapp. So you end up with like a trained Yapp on the bottom only. It's kind of weird, and I'm not a fan of that. I really dislike when they do that, but that was kind of the convention for back then. So it kind of is what it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Bible. You can see kind of the size comparison there. It is a fairly small Bible, but it is just such a nice little piece of history. I love it. So the outside cover, it does say morocco-grain leather. It doesn't specify what kind of leather it is. Now, usually if you see Morocco, right, if it's Persian Morocco or Levant Morocco or natural Morocco, back in the day that meant that it was goat skin, right? Now, if you had genuine leathers were typically pig skin. So there's no way to really tell, other than I would imagine this probably is just a genuine leather, pig skin. It was given a Morocco grain, which would be this kind of very nice kind of pebbly look that's typically seen in goat skins. So I'm assuming that's what they mean there when they say like Morocco grain. Hey, it was given the grain, right, of a Morocco leather, but it's just a normal leather. So that's usually how it tends to go with these Bibles. If it's called Morocco grain, that just means it has the grain of the Morocco. A lot of times you'll see, You'll see like pin seal grain Morocco. And so people want to assume like, oh man, that's a sealskin, right? And then so you'll see them on eBay going for like $1,000, or they'll be asking for like $1,000. Now, if it's pin seal grain Morocco, that just means it's goat skin given the texture of pin seal. And if you're not familiar with pin seal is essentially baby seals. So yes, they used to make Bibles with sealskin covers. I have a few myself. I don't have any pin seal. Goodness, that's a tongue twister. Pin seal skin covers. But they are out there. I'm assuming, I typically only see like pin seal grain. I don't think I've ever seen, maybe I've seen like one or two pin seal, just like actual pin seal leather. But those are super hard to come by. And usually sealskin leather does not hold up very well at all. Out of all the leathers, that seems to be the one that, has the hardest time actually like holding up. Genuine leather tends to be kind of the toughest. Like this one, for instance, 1937, and it still looks great. But usually sealskin tends to fall apart pretty quickly. And I think production halted of sealskin Bible covers back in the 70s because they outlawed, the use of sealskin products. So typically they fetch a pretty high price. But I'm getting into the weeds. So let's go back to this one. It does have that very nice pebbly grain. It does have a little perimeter line there, kind of an interior perimeter line, not really on the book block, kind of inset from the book block. And it does have the offset Holy Bible kind of stamp there imprinted on the front cover. On the spine, all we have is Holy Bible, nice clean presentation there. And there are some very faint, I don't even want to call them like rib indications. I mean, I guess that's what they are, is rib indications, but it's just kind of a burnished little line there. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that you have. And then the perimeter line kind of continues here on the ends. And it continues on the back as well, the perimeter line. Now, the leather certainly is very stiff. I've done my best to kind of preserve this and get it to be a little bit more flexible, but I think it might just be kind of the construction, the way it's constructed, the way it was constructed. It is a fairly stiff cover, almost like almost kind of like a hardback or something like that. Not quite like a hardback, but a very stiff leather. And on the back here, you can see where the Yapp was kind of malformed from those 2 pieces of blocks. On the front, you have a nice kind of flat Yapp there that you could probably train with some saran wrap if you wanted to. But on the back, it's definitely like taking a turn for the worse. It's just like a waterfall or something. I don't know how to show that on camera, but it's pretty substantial there, the bend. So I really wish they hadn't done that, but I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back in time to tell them otherwise. So there's that. As far as other exterior features, we have white head and tail bands. There is no ribbon, and that's how it was from when I got it. So I'm assuming that's how it was, from the factory, with no ribbon. And you can see this very unique gilt. Like I said, it's not really a gilt. I would almost call this like a pewter. It's a very cool color, very unique. I don't believe that have any other editions with a color like this, and it's super cool. I don't know why they would have done this instead of a gold or silver or something like that, but it's a very unique color. Again, almost like a pewter. So as far as the interior goes, I'll show you the corner work. The corners are very large and in charge, and they're just kind of pressed flat there. And it is just a black paper paste down. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. It just actually does look to be reinforced. It does look like you got a little piece of reinforcement tape there to kind of help the construction along. But otherwise, just black paper paste down. We'll get into the biblical text. Maybe. Just a blank sheet there. And then we have our presentation page. And I love this style. It is so old school, but it's just so pretty. Something about it. And I don't even mind the orange. Typically, I'm not a big fan of orange. But it just looks so nice here. I don't know why. It is just really pretty. And I'm assuming, yes, Natalie Weber, here she is. So her presentation page filled out with her information given to her. Ooh, look at that. By the Second Methodist Sunday School on October 3rd, 1937. Awesome. Awesome to see such a piece of history, kept over all these years. We have a few color plates here. I say color plates. They're almost maybe like a 2-color plate, because it looks just kind of like maybe like a sepia, and then like a kind of an orange color they use there. So the orange might be the theme here, and you'll see in a second why I say that, but they might have just been using orange ink kind of for accents and that sort of thing. I'm wondering if the if the red letter is an orange letter. It's not a red letter, but if they would have ran with that. But I'll show you some of these color plates. They're certainly interesting. But it does appear to just be some 2-color prints there. I'll kind of flip through them. There's Rebecca. All right, and then we have our title page. And you can see that this page is very heavily oxidized. I would imagine this is before the advent of India paper and that sort of technology to prevent the pages from oxidizing. So these are very heavily oxidized. And you'll certainly see that when I compare it to the font charts. There's a little more printing information. And we have our table of contents. And the alphabetical table of contents. And then we have the first book of Moses called Genesis. It gets, literally right into it, which is great. We'll turn a couple pages in. All right, and you can see here kind of the sparse features. There's not very much. This is what would be known as a text Bible because there's no cross-references. There's no translator's footnotes. It's literally just the text of the Bible. And it's a double column, verse by verse, which is typical of the King James Version. You do have the chapter, the book names and the chapter numbers up at the top, and they're omitting, I noticed chapter 3 here, so I'm guessing it's just the first chapter to start on the left-hand page, and then on the right-hand page, the first chapter to, I'm assuming, start, or maybe the ending chapter. Probably the ending chapter, I would imagine, if you have multiple chapters, and I guess we'll see in Psalms. But that's all it has on the top corners. Then you have your page number in the top center, and then in the gutter, you have the brief little descriptions there. Also interesting is that they do have, I'll show it to you there. It does appear that they have very short summaries here as well. It's not like a little block of text, just a quick little one line there. A little one-liner summary. I don't know. There we go. So they do have that along with the kind of the running headers up at the top. So very interesting, very unique. And it does look like the color plates kind of go throughout the text. So you might stumble upon them from time to time. I'll kind of flip through it so you guys can see. Let's go ahead and get to the poetic section. Not that there's going to be anything really to see because, again, it's a double column verse by verse. But we'll take a look. So see here, here's Psalms. And, you can see chapter 50, Psalms 55, right? So it's really weird. So I guess I was wrong, right? So it's going to be the ending chapter on each page, right? Because you have Psalm 52, 53, 54, and then 55 is all the way down here, and that's what's indicated up here at the top corner. So the ending chapter on that page, and then Psalm 57 is here. So kind of a weird way of handling it, to be honest, but that's how they decided to do it. What I was going to say about the orange, continuing throughout the Bible, the lovely art gilt here on the sides. It is art gilted, and it is kind of like I don't even know, like a salmon color. It's kind of orangey, and it's not super dark, but I would imagine with age it's darkened up a little bit. But it's a very interesting color. I mean, again, like a salmon. So it's almost like like a salmon under pewter art gilt. A really weird combination. And I don't know if it would have been different colors from the get-go, and just the years of oxidation have caused it to discolor, or if this is how it was from the factory. The world may never know. Let's go ahead and get to Matthew, or the New Testament. Actually, we'll try and let's get to the separation in the New Testament to see if there's a New Testament title page. So here we have the end of Malachi. You can see there is a family register page that's been filled out, and I love this beautiful old ink, and I love how beautiful people's handwriting was back then. Look at that beautiful penmanship. I wish they still taught that nowadays. Definitely don't. And we have your births and your marriages pages, and then your deaths page. Now, I've never been a fan of putting these kind of family pages in between the Old and New Testament. I've said it before in a previous video, but they tend to get missed. If somebody's, say, selling the Bible, they'll usually look in the front to see if the presentation page is filled out. And I've had, I think, a couple editions where they have not filled out the presentation page in the front, but then you turn to the center section here between the Testaments, and they have this little section, and this is filled out. So it's just kind of weird because you look at the presentation page, and you're like, oh, it's clean, there's no writing in it, but then you get back here, and there's people's information. So not that I mind, it's cool to me, a little piece of history, so it doesn't bother me in the slightest. But just saying, this additional information is in between the Testaments. So then we have our New Testament title page. And then we have the Gospel according to Matthew. Now, it is a black letter text, so there's nothing really to see here. So we'll kind of move quickly through it. And you can see, oh goodness, how dark this oxidation is. It's real. Goodness, it's real heavy. Back here in the Old Testament. And there we have the end of the Bible. And then, kind of weirdly or oddly, I guess, there's only a couple pages left, but we do have a brief summary of the characteristics of the books of the Old and New Testaments. So, like for instance, here I'll show it to you guys so you can read it if you want. But it says, like Genesis describes the creation, gives the history of the old world and of the steps taken by God towards the formation of the theocracy. So pretty interesting. It's just a very brief little kind of summary of all the chapters. Very brief. Not all the chapters, excuse me, of all the books. But yeah, and that appears to be it. So you have the other summaries on the back side of the page there. If you guys want to pause and read, by all means, go for it. See kind of where they were at back then with their Bible studies. Then you just have one blank sheet with genuine leather stamped on the back. I have a couple editions that are like this. This is something they did kind of back in the day, and I guess this would be a little bit easier than stamping it on the actual leather. And it'd probably be easier too, because your book block is going to change between if it's in a leather cover or synthetic cover, something like that. So it might just have been an easier way to kind of indicate that. But it's stamped there, genuine leather, and you just have your end sheet right there. Very simple. So let's go ahead and get you guys some measurements. I'll pull these Yapps out. I'll get out of here. And it's right at 7 1/4 inches tall by it's like 4 3/4 inch wide. And it is like 1.5 inches thick. So, pretty decent size. Let's take a look at the text. Ooh, actually, you know what? Let me go back to Matthew, because that was really heavily oxidized. And you guys can see, like, in comparison to, like, new white paper. We'll just go here and Luke. It'll stay open. But you can see, look at this difference, right? So this is like new white paper, right? And this is how much this paper is oxidized. I'm assuming that this paper would not have been this heavily oxidized when they first made it, or this yellow. I would imagine it was probably white paper, but over time, this is what happens to non-India paper, or I guess acidic paper, as the case may be, it just darkens up. So let's go ahead and get the capital measurement first. We'll go to the B in butt. It's about a 7 point, a little bit bigger than a 7 point, but not quite a 7.5 point. So it's like a 7.25 in comparison to Times New Roman. And let's compare M's here. We'll go to 7 again. The lowercase is about the same, actually. Yeah, it's about a 7.25 because it's kind of in between a 7 and a 7.5. So it's kind of like a 7.25 point font in comparison to Times New Roman all around. So definitely a smaller font. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even know how to reference this if you guys were to look for it. I mean, there's, I guess, the model number on the box, 642. But I didn't see a model number in the back, so, if this wasn't in the box, there would really be no way for you to know what edition this is, and there wasn't one in the front either. So yeah, if it wasn't in the box, there'd be really no way for you to know what edition this is. I would imagine, I don't know how you tell. But yeah, so as far as finding one on eBay, I don't know. I definitely feel like when I started looking at vintage Bibles, which is now, it's been about 2.5 years ago, I definitely feel like there was a lot more selection for vintage Bibles. I feel like as time goes on, and I guess it makes sense, there's just less and less to be had, and the quality is getting poorer and poorer, and the prices are going up and up. This Bible I got for like a laughable price, like completely laughable. But I feel like you don't see them in this great a shape, this old, for such a low price. But I guess that's the way of eBay and the way of life. I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say there. All right, Bible buddies. I've gone on too long. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, if you could like, comment, subscribe, all that cool YouTube stuff, it would be much appreciated. Until next time, Bible buddies. Bye.